winners. Let the pros show you how to make money. General Manager Al DeMarco, a regular contributor on Fox Sports, MSNBC, and Comcast Sports TV, brings over 25 years of handicapping experience to the table. CEO Steve Budin, the author of Bets, Drugs, and Rock and Roll, is the man responsible for creating the online betting industry. Together, they lead PickNation.com, your number one source for winners.
Can the Atlanta Falcons and the Houston Texans remain undefeated? Can the Cleveland Browns finally find a win? It really doesn't matter, guys, because the only thing that counts is which team can make you money today. Hi, everyone. Al DeMarco here along with Steve Budin, and this is the Countdown to Kickoff show, the only nationally televised show that breaks down all your NFL top games from a point spread perspective. Proud to be joining you here on FoxSports.com for a 6th consecutive season. And Steve, it's been an interesting first 5 weeks of the NFL campaign. Listen, I've said many times that what has shaped my skills as a handicapper, and I've been in this business for 25 years, is the fact that I used to be a sports reporter. So what I learned from covering teams, being around players, coaches, managers, in the locker rooms, on the field, that has gone into how I handicap games. You, on the other hand, have a totally different perspective that you bring to this show, being a former bookmaker.
Right, so you're the professional gambler. I'm the former largest bookmaker in the world. And although me and Al may see things on opposite sides of the spectrum, although we may be from opposite sides of the track, we share a business philosophy. And that is integrity, that is honesty, and that is transparency. And you can see that on PickNation.com. We also share a betting philosophy. And that is you don't take your money and spread it all out on the table. You find that one game. You use your opinion, I use my crews, the syndicates, my sources, and we formulate a long-term strategy because, let's face it, we're not in this for one day, we're not in this for 1 week, we're all lifers, and you got to find that one game. That's the way to do it.
Oh, you bring up an excellent point. Listen, guys, in my youth, if there were 20 games on the board, I'd find a way to bet 21 sides. That's how it was. But as I've matured, as I lost money, now that I've made money, I realize you find that one game and that's the game you unload on. And maybe it's one of the games we're going to talk about today. Guys, first game on tap today, we're going to take a look at a rematch. Cleveland and Cincinnati, first time these two met. Cincinnati won, but it was a push. Cincinnati giving up a late touchdown. It ended up as a 7-point game. Today, the Bengals -1. I think Cincinnati was one of the biggest disappointments, the most shocking disappointments last week. I don't understand how they came up and played so poorly at home against Miami. I'm still not convinced the Dolphins are that good, but after reeling off 3 straight wins, Andy Dalton and the offense was rolling, they just couldn't get the job done at home.
Every time these two teams play each other, Al, it's a freaking war. And usually when it's a war, I always look to take extra bullets. Last time they played, I took the 7 in Cincinnati. It was a push, like kissing your sister. Not this time. This time I think we're getting a value because Cincinnati played so badly against the Dolphins on both sides of the ball. Look, they were 7 points at home. They're supposed to be 4 now. They're 1. I'm going to lay that 1. I think it's a value with the Cincinnati Bengals.
And I agree with you as well because, you know, I look at this Cleveland team and everybody says, wow, they played well against the Giants. Really? Did they? I mean, they were up 14-0. And then the Giants scored 41 of the next 47 points in the game, guys. I mean, Eli Manning and the Giants just ran through them like Swiss cheese. In fact, they had 502 total yards in that game against this Cleveland defense, and 243 of them came on the ground. So I think Cincinnati has the recipe for success here. They've got to establish the run. Andy Dalton has to rebound after a poor game. He certainly has the receivers, and he's taking on a Cleveland Browns team that does not put a lot of pressure on opposing quarterbacks. So, with Andy Dalton, the Bengals have won each of the last 3 meetings. They're on a 7-1 straight-up run in the series, and Cleveland's only covered 3 of their last 14 at home. I'm with you. Great price, and that's one of the things we look at. You as a bookmaker, me as a handicapper. You don't hold it against a team for how poorly they played the week before, even if you had money on them. Instead, you look at whether or not there's value, as you said, and the Bengals are a value play. Before we go any further, guys, we want to talk about a special fantasy football league contest that we've been running at PickNation.com the past 2 years. $500 in total prize money at stake. And here's the best thing, guys. It is absolutely free to enter. And Steve, as we always say, it's instant gratification.
And if you've entered the contest before, don't think you can't enter it again. We've got a lot of guys that have won it and placed multiple times, so it's a very fun contest, and it's not your grandmother's contest. It doesn't take till the end of the year to figure out who the winner is. It's week by week, and every week is another opportunity to win.
And it's free to enter, guys. That's the most important thing. $500 of total prize money, and it doesn't cost you a thing to enter. So as Steve said, if you played last week and you didn't win, or if you did win, play again. Let me tell you, last week, a guy with the screen name, he entered his account name as Abel W.
Finally got somebody whose name we can mention on TV.
Yes, little inside joke there. But this guy, Abel W., his quarterbacks last week, he had kind of a good day. He had Drew Brees and Andrew Luck. All they did was combine for 732 yards passing and 6 touchdowns. Oh, and by the way, he picked Ahmad Bradshaw, who last Sunday decided to run for a career-high 200 yards. So he won the contest by almost 30 total points. I think that was the biggest margin of victory in the 2 years that we've been running this free contest in conjunction with DraftStreet.com. But again, free to enter, $500 total prize money at stake. All they've got to do, go to PickNation.com, click on the ads, you can't miss them, and guys, enter the contest. It's for free.
Yeah, I'm sick of losing. I'm going after it hard this week. I'm getting somebody to help me. I'm going after the win today.
Which means he'll probably finish in at least the top 200. Okay, next game on the board, one of the undefeated teams, the Atlanta Falcons. Really lackluster performance, yet we both backed them last week. Or actually, I backed them. You thought they'd go over at Washington. I had the winner. The Falcons did rally for the win and cover in Washington last week. Problem with them is, at the halftime of that game, Falcons, you looked at the score and you looked at the turnover department. They had 2 costly turnovers in the first half. That's why they weren't able to pull away early. They benefited from RG3 going out of the game. But that is 2 straight poor performances for the Falcons. They needed that miraculous comeback to win in the final minute at home against Carolina. They did not play well last week at Washington, but they got the perfect opponent here. At home, the Oakland Raiders coming off a bye.
Yeah, and I say it all the time. Football, to me, is a game of quarterbacks. And in this game, there's only one quarterback worth a mention. That's Matt Ryan, Matty Ice. When you add to that the fact that the Oakland Raiders don't play well on the road, and the Atlanta Falcons, very tough at home, especially against the spread, dominating against the spread. You could see why I start to like Atlanta here. Now, they are the biggest favorite on the board. And if you remember last week, we had 2 big favorites on the board, the Giants and San Fran, and I told everybody, stay away from the teasers. You don't need them. You just lay the points here and you'll win. I feel the same way with the Falcons this week.
Yeah, I think Atlanta is really going to get it going. Oakland's secondary is poor. Their pass rush is pathetic. This is a Raider team that is 0-9 straight up and against the spread coming off their last 9 byes, and they've lost those games by an average of 15 points. Meanwhile, the Falcons are going into their bye week just the opposite, 8-1 against the spread their last 9 games prior to a bye. And again, I go back to that Washington game. You see a close game. You see the Falcons had to rally in the fourth quarter to win the game. But if you look at the box score, you see the dynamics were there for a blowout. It just didn't get manufactured. They had a time of possession advantage of 37 minutes to 23. They had 421 yards. Playing at home, perfect conditions in the Georgia Dome, I think they just pulverized them. I'm surprised you didn't like the over. You generally always take the Falcons over. 48.5 points. With this defense of Oakland, this game might go over as well.
Learned my lesson last week. I'm laying the big wood.
Okay. And by the way, guys, the Falcons have covered 18 of their last 25 against the spread at home. Baltimore and Dallas. Cowboys, when last seen, it was a pathetic performance on Monday night against the Chicago Bears a couple of weeks ago. They are coming off a bye. Meanwhile, Baltimore, well, I think they slept their way through last week's game at Kansas City. It was a 9-6 win, and that's about the nicest thing I can say about the Ravens' performance in that contest. Ravens again showed that this defense is not the Baltimore defense of old. They could not stop Kansas City running the ball, gave up 214 rushing yards in the game. Kansas City actually had the ball 8 more minutes. A lot of support for Dallas, I think, in the betting public out there, thinking the Cowboys have got to rebound. Well, they have to rebound. That doesn't necessarily mean they will rebound.
If you're going to bet on or against Dallas at this stage of the season, you really ought to get your head examined. I mean, you never know who's going to show up from week to week. And Al, I'm sick of blaming Tony Romo, sick of blaming Des Bryant or the running game or the defense. I'm blaming the coach. Jason Garrett, if you're out there listening, my friend, you're a nice guy, but you are a failure. You have failed to get this team that is deep in talent to play at the next level. And look, on the other side, Baltimore, I'm not so in love with them either. 2 weeks ago, ago, couldn't cover against Cleveland at home. Went into KC, couldn't cover there either. I'm actually leaning towards Dallas here, but I'm going to buy up from 3.5 to 4. Al, 4 is a very powerful number. We talk about it all the time. Touchdown minus a field goal. Yep, that's 4. And that's why it's such a big number.
Now, see, I think the exact opposite of you. And we don't talk about these games before we start doing the show, guys. I think Baltimore is to play because we are getting value because of their inability to get the job done against the Patriots, against the Browns, against Kansas City. So I would buy down from 3.5 to 3 in this game, noting that the Cowboys have only covered 3 of their last 14 games. I do think that Jason Garrett is overmatched. And you've got a Cowboys team, look great. Season opener, won at New York. Second week at Seattle, didn't even show up, got crushed in that game. So I like Baltimore in this one. Philly, Detroit coming up. But guys, listen, want to talk about something that is unique to us at PickNation.com. A lot of people say, well, what are the big bettors in Vegas getting down on today? How about the betting crews in Vegas? Well, we have the information because of our sources in Vegas, and we put it out there for you. It's called the Insider Money Move Service.
Right, so we have actual scouts in the Vegas hotels where the lines are moving, and it's important because just watching the lines move, you don't know if the public is moving those lines or if the Sharpies are moving those lines. A lot of these services will flat out lie and tell you they have the steam, they have the hot plays. It's just not true. We've been bringing it to you now for close to 2 years, and the proof is in the pudding. Just look at the record. It's on the site. It's pretty unbelievable.
And guys, listen, 7 days of that service normally costs $179. Here's your special promotion this week only here to all of you watching this video. $5 this week for the Insider Money Move service. 7 days for $5. You see the coupon code flashing here underneath the screen. It is Insider5. You go to the Insider Money Moves page, and by the way, at the Insider Money Moves page, I've got a video you can watch that really gives you an in-depth explanation about how the service works. Give it a shot. 7 days for $5. Insider5 is that money-saving discount coupon code. That'll save you $174 off the purchase of a 7-day package. Next game here before we take our first break is going to be Philadelphia and Detroit. The Eagles blew the game at Pittsburgh last week because Michael Vick once again had fumbleitis. This Detroit team coming off a bye, everybody thought the Lions were going to do so good this year, and this is a team that has been absolutely pathetic. 1-3 straight up, 0-4 against the spread.
Yeah, both teams disappointed so far with the way that they play, and probably both teams looking at this game at this point of the season as a pivotal game. Now, we know the Eagles, they play way better at home than they play on the road, but 4 points, Al, is a little too much for me to give here. I'm going to go with Detroit plus the 4 points.
And here's the thing I also think about Philadelphia in this contest. With Michael Vick, 11 turnovers this season, 4 of them coming in the red zone. The defense, which last year led the league in sacks with 50, well, through 5 games this season, they only have 6 sacks. You don't put enough pressure with that secondary covering Calvin Johnson and Matthew Stafford, I'd be really worried taking Philadelphia. But what I like in this game is actually the over. Even though the Eagles have only scored 80 points in 5 games so far this season, I think Detroit's defense is pathetic. I think the Eagles get their offense cranking. 47.5, 48 points. I would play it over and skip the side in this game.
Detroit's also going to score in bunches, so that's going to push Philadelphia to get into their offensive game quicker than normal.
And remember, the Eagles have only covered 4 times the last 15 times they've been laying points at home. Not exactly a money-making proposition. Well, guys, that'll do it for the first half of the show. We will be right back in just a minute. More games to break down. Countdown to Kickoff show continues here on FoxSports.com.